What if a penny sitting in your old coin jar right now could be worth thousands of dollars? It sounds impossible. After all, the 1960 Lincoln penny was made more than 6 decades ago, and millions of these coins were produced. Most people would see one, recognize the date, and spend it without thinking twice. But collectors know something most people don't. Not every 1960 Lincoln penny is the same. Tiny differences in the date, mint mark, variety, and condition can completely change what a coin is worth. Some 1960 cents are ordinary pocket change, while certain rare varieties and exceptionally preserved examples have brought impressive prices at auction. And the most interesting part, some of the clues are hiding in places you might never think to check. In this video, we're going through the most valuable 1960 Lincoln pennies, showing you exactly what to look for and explaining why certain examples can command serious money. So before you spend, clean, or throw away that old 1960 penny, stay with me, because the next coin you check could be the one you almost overlooked. The 1960 Lincoln cent is an especially interesting year for collectors because the mint produced different date varieties. One of the biggest things collectors look for is the difference between the large date and small date varieties. At first glance, they can look almost identical. That's exactly what makes them so easy to miss. If you have an old 1960 penny, don't simply look at the year and assume you've already determined its value. The shape and positioning of the digits can provide important clues. The small date is generally considered the scarcer variety among the Philadelphia issues, particularly in higher grades. PCGs recognizes the 1960 small date as a distinct collectible variety and records significant auction results for high-grade examples. But here's where beginners often make a mistake. Finding a small date does not automatically mean you've found a coin worth thousands. The condition, color designation, exact variety, mint mark, and authentication all matter. That's why this video isn't simply about finding a 1960 penny. It's about learning how to identify the details that separate an ordinary coin from a potentially valuable one. And the first detail you need to understand is the date. Now let's get to one of the most important checks you can perform. Take your 1960 penny and look closely at the date. You want to compare the small date and large date characteristics. The differences are subtle, but once you know what you're looking for, they become much easier to recognize. Start with the 0. On the small date, the 0 generally appears narrower and more oval-shaped. On the large date, the 0 appears wider and more rounded. Next, look at the 9. The positioning and shape of the top portion of the 9 can help distinguish the varieties. Then examine the 6. The shape of the upper portion of the digit provides another clue when comparing the two date styles. The best way to learn this is to place a known small date beside a known large date and compare them under good lighting. Don't rely on a blurry photograph or a quick glance. Use magnification if necessary. And remember, we're looking for die characteristics, not damage. A scratched or worn digit isn't automatically a rare variety. The goal is to identify the correct design characteristics that match the recognized variety. Once you can confidently distinguish small date from large date, you've completed the first major step in hunting for valuable 1960 Lincoln cents. But there's another 1960 variety that gets even more interesting when you add a D mint mark. Now we're moving into more advanced territory. If your 1960 Lincoln penny has a D mint mark, don't put it away just yet. Collectors recognize a 1960 DD small large date variety, and this is one of the varieties that can make a 1960 cent particularly interesting. The important thing here is that the variety involves specific die characteristics, rather than simply a coin looking unusual. PCGS catalogs the 1960 D small large date as a recognized variety, and lists significant auction results for high-grade examples. This is where magnification becomes extremely useful. Instead of simply asking, "Does this penny look weird?" you want to ask, Does this coin show the exact characteristics of the recognized variety? That's a much better question. And here's something important for anyone watching this video. If you think you've found one, don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't scratch around the date. Don't try to make the details more visible. Cleaning or altering a collectible coin can hurt its value and make professional evaluation more difficult. Instead, preserve the coin exactly as you found it. Take clear photographs. Compare it with reliable references. And if the coin appears promising, consider having it examined or graded by a professional service. Because with rare varieties, identification is everything. Now let's talk about something that many new collectors underestimate. Condition. Two 1960 Lincoln pennies can have exactly the same date variety and still have dramatically different values. Why? Because collectors place a huge premium on coins that survive in exceptional condition. Think about what happened to a penny after it left the mint. It may have spent decades moving through cash registers, pockets, drawers, vending machines, and coin jars. It could have been scratched, dropped, rubbed, stained, or exposed to chemicals. Every one of those things can affect its condition. Now imagine finding a 1960 cent that somehow escaped most of that damage. The original surfaces are still sharp. The lettering is clear. Lincoln's portrait has strong detail. The fields are relatively clean, and the original red color is still present. That's when things become much more interesting to collectors. PCG's auction records demonstrate that exceptionally high-grade 1960 Lincoln cents can command substantial premiums compared with ordinary circulated examples. So when you're checking your coin jar, don't only ask, "Is this a small date?" Also ask, "How well preserved is this coin?" Because rarity plus exceptional condition can create a completely different level of value. There is another fascinating part of the 1960 Lincoln cent story that many casual collectors never hear about. Proof coins. Proof coins were specially produced for collectors, and 1960 included some interesting date varieties. Specialists have documented 1960 proof cents involving different date configurations, including varieties where one date style was impressed over another. These coins aren't normally the kind you'll discover in everyday pocket change, but they demonstrate just how complicated the 1960 Lincoln cent can become when you start looking at varieties. CoinWeek has documented both small date over large date and large date over small date proof varieties from 1960. And this teaches us an important lesson. A valuable coin doesn't always have a giant, obvious error. Sometimes the difference is microscopic. Sometimes it involves the way a die was prepared. Sometimes it involves a particular combination of design characteristics that only specialists know how to recognize. That's why serious collectors use magnification, comparison photographs, reference books, and professional attribution. So if you ever encounter a 1960 proof cent, don't assume it's just another shiny penny. Take a closer look, because the 1960 date has more variety potential than most people realize. At this point, you might think only the small date deserves attention. That's not true. Every 1960 Lincoln cent deserves at least a quick examination. Why? Because condition and variety can dramatically change the equation. Even a large date can become highly desirable when an example survives in an extraordinary grade. PCGS records an auction result of $20,000 for a 1960D large date graded MS67RD, demonstrating how powerful condition can be in the high-end market. Now, don't misunderstand that number. It does not mean every 1960D large date is worth $20,000. Most are nowhere near that. That price reflects a particular coin in an exceptional certified grade. This is one of the biggest lessons in coin collecting. A coin's value is not determined by the date alone. You have to consider date, mint mark, variety, grade, color, surface quality, and sometimes even the coin's provenance and auction demand. So don't throw away a 1960 penny simply because it's a large date. Look at the whole coin. If it has unusually sharp details and exceptional surfaces, it may deserve further examination. Now comes the question everyone wants answered. How much is a valuable 1960 Lincoln penny actually worth? The honest answer is, it depends. A normal circulated 1960 cent can be worth only a modest amount, but recognized varieties and exceptional high-grade examples can be worth dramatically more. For example, PCG's lists an auction record of $4,600 for a 1960 small-date graded MS67RD. For the 1960 DD small-large date variety, PCGS lists an auction record of $4,025 for an MS66 example. And, as we mentioned earlier, a high-grade 1960D large date has reached $20,000 at auction. These numbers show why the phrase, "some are worth thousands," can be justified for the right coins. But there's an important warning. Never assume that your coin is automatically worth the highest auction record you find online. Auction records represent specific coins with specific grades and characteristics. Your coin may be circulated, it may have damage, it may be a different variety, or it may be worth much less. That's why identification comes before valuation. First, determine what you actually have. Then determine what comparable coins have sold for. Before you start searching through your collection, there are several mistakes you absolutely want to avoid. Mistake number 1. Cleaning the coin. Don't polish your 1960 penny to make it look shiny. Collectors generally prefer original surfaces, and cleaning can leave permanent hairlines or unnatural surfaces. Mistake number 2. Assuming every unusual mark is an error. A scratch is a scratch. A dent is a dent. Post-mint damage does not automatically turn an ordinary penny into a valuable error. Mistake number 3. Trusting exaggerated online asking prices. Someone can list a coin online for $50,000. That doesn't mean anyone actually paid $50,000 for it. Actual auction results and reputable price guides are much better evidence. Mistake number 4. Ignoring condition. A rare variety in poor condition and a rare variety in exceptional condition can have very different values. And finally, don't rush. If you believe you found something special, protect the coin first. Then research it. Compare it with trusted references. And, if necessary, get professional attribution. The smartest collectors don't get excited because a coin looks strange. They get excited when they can prove why it's different. So, do you have a 1960 Lincoln penny? Before you spend it, check it one more time. Start with the date. Compare the small date and large date characteristics. Then check for the mint mark. If it's a 1960D, pay particular attention to recognized varieties, such as the DD small large date. Next, examine the condition. Is the coin heavily worn, or does it have unusually sharp details and original surfaces? And finally, remember the biggest lesson from today's video. The year alone doesn't make a 1960 penny valuable. It's the combination of variety, rarity, condition, and demand that can turn an ordinary-looking cent into a serious collector coin. Some high-grade and recognized 1960 varieties have brought thousands of dollars at auction, which is exactly why these little coins deserve a second look. So go through your old coin jars, check your inherited collections, look through those rolls of older pennies. And if you find a 1960 Lincoln cent that looks different, don't spend it yet. Take a closer look. You may have nothing more than a common penny. Or you may have discovered a variety that deserves a much closer examination. If you enjoyed this coin hunt, subscribe, because there are plenty more valuable coins hiding in ordinary collections. And tell me in the comments, do you have a 1960 Lincoln penny, and is yours a small date or large date?